blame or be blame situation. It's an unconditional judgment. Unconditional judgment. It's a blame or be blame. It's an unconditional judgment. Conditional judgment.
Alternative DJing, really, it gives us a license to do what we want. In a traditional terms, alternative would mean rock, metal, pop punk. The way that we interpret it is we like to put in anything that's not in the chart. So alternative to what's in popular culture nowadays.
Basically, we're able to play whatever the fuck we want. It gives us a vast, wide spectrum of the music we can play. Where people want to come and party, you know you're only not going to get just one thing. You can turn up, and you can have some dance and EDM tunes. You have rock tunes, heavy metal tunes, stuff that people are called power pop, all kinds of rock. What people used to have as niches in terms of the rock scene, a lot of those no longer exist. Some of that is because the bands aren't strong enough for that to exist, so people are broadening their horizons in order to have a greater taste in quality music.
Basically, any music that's not in the charts. But most people that think of it as more aimed at the rock and the hardcore metal and punk scene, that's pretty much what it is. I was having this conversation with someone earlier today, and we were basically saying that alternative is a really amazing word because it's got no limits, in the sense that with alternative, you can literally go from being there to being like, not just there, but down the fucking road in another town. But it can all sound in tune with what you're trying to achieve. So alternative, we are trying to manipulate to basically mean fucking party, like a good time.
I've been DJing for about 15 years now, out in clubs, and what made me get into it was my dad was actually a guitar teacher. So I started playing in bands, and I had that period of teenage rebellion where I was like, I don't want to follow in my father's footsteps. So I bought some cheap belt-driven vinyl turntables for my 16th birthday, started messing around, and then got my first residency in Birmingham at 18, and then took it from there.
I've been DJing for a year. And basically, it's really weird. I used to work at a station called Uprawr Radio in Birmingham before that went down. And while I was there, I really wanted to be a Uprawr resident DJ. And I remember like saying to a couple of guys there, like, I'm looking to meet the guys who are all trying to get us off like a residency there or something like that. And then when Uprawr went down, I was like, oh great, I'm unemployed now, sick. And then went from like basically just bumming around. And then one of my mates who was a manager here at the time was just like, you know, we should come and jump in and Uprawr, do some stuff there. And so through the Uprawr training program, which Tommy set up, basically just trained me to be a DJ. And then that's really when I found like my first love for it. And then since then, it's not stopped.
When I was at uni, a little DJ slot came up in a metal club in my hometown. And I just went for it, and the girl who made me employed, she was just happy with what I did. I did half an hour of new metal or something, and that was like 6 years ago. Since then I've just grown. DJ'd in a club called Marsh in Derby. Uprawr guys came down, thought I was sick, grabbed me. I've been here ever since.
My background's from house DJing, and it's very different in the sense that we've got much more of a feel of community in the rock scene. people start loving bands from an early age, from 11 to 12, and they grow up with those bands. And obviously new bands come and people make friends with these bands. Whereas in the house scene it's quite sterile, it's lots of bitchiness and arrogantness, and it's about promoting yourself. Whereas in the alternative scene it's much more about promoting the scene. The rock scene was something completely new for me, whereas the dance scene it's quite hard to get to that next level. It's very competitive and the biggest DJs are very established.
For a lot of DJs, DJing is their job, so like you go down Broad Street and the guy is standing behind like a plastic booth no bigger than this sofa, like maybe sipping on a couple of beers, like that's his job and he sees that as like his income and his lifestyle, and you know, like it's all about where's the next gig coming from, where can I like, but whereas we see it as just like a party. So you know, I'll go down to London on a Thursday night like after I've done the day job and I'll just want to party, you know what I mean? So because of that, I think that the stigma of being an alternative DJ isn't just the fact that, you know, you've got a tattooed girlfriend and you just turn up and you just stand there and post a couple of photos for Instagram and then you go home again. Like, for me, like, it's not about any of that shit. Like, I couldn't care about the image, the stigma, or the fucking, like, all the sort of vicey bullshit that goes alongside of it, with, like, that we got pulled out. And for me, it's just basically just like getting a group of people who you'd never in a million years put together, put them in a room and see how much of an amazing time you can have with those people. That for me is like what alternative DJing is.
For a long time, the actual technicality in DJing, as in what people did with the turntables, was ignored. It would literally be a guy pressing play on one song and waiting for that song to finish and pressing play on the other, and an iPod can do that. So what we've really tried to bring in is the sort of stage presence and the sort of spectacle of actually having a DJ who the crowd are watching. So yes, they are reacting to the tracks that have been played, but they're also getting the participation and the link with the DJ as well.
A lot of alternative DJs don't do this, but a lot of beat matching and key matching is quite essential for that for me, because when it drops at the same tempo or in the same key, it has a much bigger reaction than it would if it wasn't. I get on the mic a little bit, shout in their faces, not too much, but it always gets them a little bit hyped. You need to keep the people that go to clubs happy. The people that only go to clubs and know the tunes in clubs, the big songs. So I usually split it 50-50 with either new stuff or old stuff that people don't get to hear that much, and big bangers that people do know. So mix it up 50-50 so it keeps it fresh every week rather than always playing the same tunes basically.
I don't really have any specific tricks, but I do like mixing a lot of old with new, especially when I'm DJing a main room set. I'll really mishmash genres as well, so I'll throw in some old hip-hop tracks, I'll throw in some acapellas, like modern house tracks over rock beats, and just try and keep it as varied as possible really. I think if you take the crowd by surprise, they appreciate it. I think if you play the same old tracks week in, week out, that's when you start running into problems.
To be honest, like, I just kind of think, because I used to come to Uprawr loads before I started working here, I just think if I was down there, what would like make me want to move, or what would like, you know, like make me, you know, not that I'm encouraging drinking, but like, you know, party a little bit harder. Some of the stuff that I've done, like it all stems from just like I just couldn't stop moving when I was playing the tune, so like, I was always like dancing and jumping around, and then I started like exploring the stage, like it's a massive like jungle gym or something like that. And then when they gave me a microphone, I just basically let loose on it. That's kind of like what I'd like to try and make DJing is like a gig, instead of just like, oh, I'm going out to a club outside. It's like going to like an event. The craving for good music is out there, and like, there was a study showing that like your attention gets like held a little bit more when you're at a rock show than it does when you're like a dance event or something like that. And I think like that, and also the development and the way the rock scene's going. Like you look at stuff like Reading and Leeds, where like the main stage now is pretty much like 90% rock on each day, and then downloads getting bigger. I just think that the rock scene as a whole is expanding, and because of that, like because we've tied it in with alternative culture as well, which is just like, you know, you're not just going to hear like hardcore, you're not just going to hear pop punk, you're going to hear like a bit of EDM, you're going to hear a bit of house, you're going to hear a bit of pop, because like as long as stuff's heavy or party or like, you know, just good fun, then people are willing to jump on board with it, and like just not take yourself seriously either, just like doing whatever the fuck you want and just going for it, like.
A lot of alternative clubs, they grow to a point and then they'll start to deteriorate. So it's always up and down. New clubs open all the time, clubs shut all the time. Depends on the city, really. I think like if the city's thriving for it, then it'll be taken well.
I think really the alternative club scene has really evolved in the last probably 2 years. Where it would be, you used to go to a club and it would be the same songs played by the same DJs who had been there for 10-15 years, and there was very little thought put into it. Nowadays you'll see that we're doing festival after parties and other alternative clubs as well. The music's becoming more varied, and our crowd are starting to become less alternative in a way. We've still got the tattoos and the beards and stuff, but if you went to a house night now, you would look like the same. You would look like the same type of crowd. So I think it's all going to mash together, and each genre is going to sort of borrow bits from each other.
Massive. It can be massive. I think because the fact that in the 21st century people no longer have to have one music taste. Like just because you're a metal kid doesn't mean you have to wear a black t-shirt, dye your hair and put a fringe over your eyes. Just because you like EDM doesn't necessarily mean you have to buy yourself a pair of short shorts, a white t-shirt and some of that really weird rave paint to put it in an S around your eyes. Like, it's cool to be everything now. Once people experience it and they realise actually there's not a stigma behind this, there's not actually a set of bullshit rules which means to classify to go into a rock club you have to be wearing skinny jeans and a band t-shirt just by the same ruling as going into a dance club. You don't have to be dressed to the nines wearing a dress that costs you like 25 grand. Like, it's cool to just do it all in one building, and it doesn't matter, it doesn't for me matter whether it's posh as fuck or down and dirty as fuck. Like, if you're in there to have a good time, that's all that matters, and that's all that we'll ask you to do.